So that just comes right up, and then just gonna set that over here. And then you want to be careful. So some of these parts, I believe this this gear right here just sits on the. So this will actually just so for example, if you wanted to like flip the watch over or whatever, this would just fall right out. So you want to be careful about that kind of stuff. And then now the next, I guess the trickiest next part is going to be you got to remove this plate here. I'm gonna need to take a look at it over my camera. There are a couple of screws. I want to say there's a screw here, looks like a third one there. Sorry, and a fourth one here. Okay, yeah. So there are screws here. 1, 2, 3, 4 screws. You undo those, and then this whole plate will pop up. There's a little, there's this little spring here. It's a delicate piece, but don't be too frightened by it. And when you remove these screws, this plate will come off, and that'll allow you to take this date wheel off. And you're going to need to do this both on the old and the new movements. There's really not much to it. I guess I'll just, like I said, I already have the correct movement on the correct thing, so I'm just going to go ahead and do it. It'd be kind of dumb to do like an internet tutorial and then not do the thing that I'm describing that you should do. So let's just go ahead and give it a shot. This is another thing. You just want to kind of take your time. Again, don't, probably best to do this without a camera in front of your face, but my chest kind of so that I could get a good view here. Tried mounting it a few different ways, but it wasn't really working out. So, okay, there's 2. You can, I find that patience is just, you never have enough. You can never have enough when you're doing this stuff. You can go and, undo all the screws at once. Yada yada, but then stuff happens, your hand slips and 3 of them go shooting off into the atmosphere and you never find them again. So I like to take it one excruciatingly small step at a time, which probably doesn't make for interesting television, which is what this is going to be, but you can fast forward too. It's cool. I'm not putting any video or any advertisements in here. This is just for education. That's 1, 2, 3, and then this should be the last one. Yeah, you can already see when my hand slips, the plate's starting to come up. And these movements, it's worth noting, both the NH36 and the 7S26C are very, very similar movements. So it's the same screws in the same position for both. And honestly, it's like you kind of gotta be careful to like not mix up which one's which, because it's kind of easy to do. So then you just want to, take your time. This just lifts off. Again, how cool is that, right? I'm gonna take a look at that, that one spring, the other one over here. Oh, you can see there's a wheel under here. The forward is right there, so I'm gonna make sure that I don't lose track of that. And then, yeah, probably a good idea not to mess with more than you need to. If all you're trying to do is a swap and this is one of your first projects, I would just like take it easy and just, this will just pull up and you can just take it and swap it with the other one. You're going to have to do this twice, like I said. So be careful. You've got a bunch of pieces here that are now not being held down by anything. So, so don't turn it over or anything like that, because you can lose pieces that you need. But yeah, that's it. In the assembly is the reverse order of disassembly. Now I have to put my watch back together so I can wear it. But yeah, that's pretty much all there is to it. Once you put everything back together, like I said, the pressure fitting on stuff, it's pretty straightforward. Just make sure you don't like overdo pushing on it or whatever. And it should be pretty straightforward. Everything just snaps into place. And then you've got your hacking and winding everything. So. Okay, so at this point you've got the new day wheels installed. Got that one that sort of that clamping plate, reinstalled that little washer that holds the day wheel in place, and then you've just pressure fit the dial back into space. Then the last thing you want to do, I wasn't paying very close attention when I pulled the hands off of the dial, so of course I'm not going to be able to put them exactly back where they were, plus it advanced a little bit while I was mucking with it. But one thing that you really want to do is have the date advance at or as close to midnight as you possibly can. So now what I've just done is pull the stem out all the way. Okay, let me see. Okay, so that was a little sloppy, and I'm hoping it's just because everything was settling in. So I'm just going to go through one more time and see if I can just get it right when it's starting to move again, and then that'll be where I set the midnight. Super crisp advancement. Yeah, okay, so now it's starting to move again. So I'm going to call that midnight. And now I'm going to set the hands in place. You're on your own for that one, though, because I don't even want to try to put the hands on with this camera in front of my face like this. But it ain't too bad. Just take your time. There is, if you do go ahead and buy like a kit, they have these nifty tools that help you put the hands on. They're just little like little rubber erasers that have a hole in it that help you sort of place the hour and the minute hands without damaging things. I've also found that just using pieces of wood, like using 2 of these to just kind of work around it, and just it's one of those things you really want to take your time with getting the hands back on, because if you bend those, you're just going to see that every time you look at the watch, assuming that it's still functional. But that's it. Nothing too terrible. Hope that whoever decides to go ahead with it. Oh, you know what? There's one last thing that I forgot. I'm going to show you about the stem. Okay, so the stem, like I said, so this is the stem removed, and when it comes new with the new movement, there will either be just like a generic like plastic piece or whatever, or nothing on there. And so what you're going to want to do is place the stem inside this pin vise, and this is like a sliding ring pin vise. So now this thing is held firmly in place around the clutch mechanism for the pin, and then you can just I'm not gonna actually do it because I already glued it in place, and I just don't feel like messing it up. But with the stock stem, you're gonna want to pull the crown off of the stem, from your original unit, so that you can replace it onto the other one, and it's glued into place. You're gonna want to really just like slowly, just a little bit at a time, just work it, hold on to it until it wants to come off. It's screw it, I'll just do it. And then you just unscrew it. And there, that's the stock stem. And then what I'm gonna do is just put a little dollop of thread locker on here just to keep it nice and tight, and then I'll screw that back on. But yeah, like I said, this stock stem when you get it is going to be pretty long. It's going to be, there might be an extra 1/2 inch of threaded material on there, so you're going to want to take that off with your wire cutters. Fit the new guy on there, screw it on nice and tight. There's some trial and error. You're going to want to do the measurements yourself, but you're going to want to trim it down a fair bit. And what I did, I actually probably trimmed this like 3 or 4 times and kept on like putting the crown on and putting it back into movement to see how much space there was left. I found that, once you have everything back together, you put the movement in, then you can go into the process of trying to trim this down and make sure that you don't, if you cut it too short, then that's just a whole nother ball of parts to wait for, etc. It's kind of annoying. So take your time with that one, and good luck.